This AgVision program is made possible through the generous support of Syngenta Seeds NK brand. The results you need, the freedom to choose. And by Farms.com. Ag news, market prices, ag careers, and farm real estate. You'll find it all at Farms.com.
So what advice then for the grower if the goal is to get more local? Many growers will tell you, it's pretty tough to get your produce at the local, at the retail level to have any kind of say in what's going on the shelves. Then the retailers naturally want a supplier who is going to be consistent in quality and time and that kind of thing. So what will the key be then to getting more local produce to the consumer?
Yeah, the most important thing is for growers to organize themselves into marketing networks so that you have groups of growers that are producing quantity and producing a particular product in sufficient quantity so that the people that they supply to, whether it's to a food service company or to a restaurant or a chain of restaurants or to a retail store, that they have a consistent supply of quality product and that they can depend on that. So that's terribly important. The other thing that's important about that is that when growers link together into marketing networks, they reduce their transaction costs. And that's the only way that growers can be partners in the food chain rather than simply raw material suppliers. They then have a voice in what they get paid. They can bring to the table their cost of production and make that a part of the pricing scenario that becomes part of that consistent food supply. We like to call those values-based value chains rather than supply chains.
And these networks you're talking about, is that the strategic alliances? The term you sometimes use is strategic alliance. Is that what you're referring to then?
Yes, correctly. Yeah.
You mentioned a little earlier the emergence of more and more local markets we're seeing. Some work, some don't. We see them in various different forms. What do we know in terms of what some of the keys to success are for those markets?
Again, the information that we're getting is that success depends, first of all, on having a product that tastes good, that has a consistent quality, that consumers can get access to on a continuing basis. And for some consumers, linking together with a farm to what's now being called community-supported agriculture, where a group of consumers in a community will buy shares in a farm to get the products that the farm produces on a consistent basis. So it's one way to do that. For many consumers, that doesn't work. They don't have the time, or their lifestyle doesn't allow them to be engaged with the farmer directly in that way. And so that's why we think that developing these marketing networks where farmers link up with a distribution company, food company that makes their food available to consumers on a consistent basis.
So much of this is all about the brand. Do you think that branding really is going to be the key to the success in the future of the small, medium-sized farm?
Yes, brands are terribly important because brands tell the consumer the particular differentiation of that particular product and who the farmers are that produce it. We think in addition to these, so in other words, each of these farmers marketing networks that we're talking about would have their own brand. Mm-hmm. And there are a number of examples out there. Organic Valley Farmers, for example, in the United States, which are a group of organic growers that have developed a marketing network. They now have some 700 growers that are producing organic milk and cheese and meat and orange juice. And Organic Valley has now become a well-known brand, and consumers identify with that. We think, in addition to the brand, however, of each of these farmers' networks, that all of these farmers' networks could also be linked together with a common seal, and that seal would be controlled by a third-party certification system that would assure the consumers that all of the common things that all of these farmers' networks have in terms of environmental and social standards are shared by all of the production systems, and that seal would be the assurance to the consumer that they all meet those basic standards.
So many interesting strategies you have for farmers to prosper. We're only a couple minutes left, but I'd like to touch on at least one more. If you could tell us a bit about the Association of Family Farms.
Right. Well, this is what we're trying to develop here in the United States is a national seal that would be recognized in the marketplace, and all of these individual farmer marketing networks would each belong to this association and be given the right to use the seal, provided they meet the standards. I was in Canada just recently, and there was at least some interest in having a similar kind of association of family farms in Canada, and there isn't any reason why this can't be exported to other countries.
Fascinating idea. Now, you also talk about redesigning agricultural landscapes. What are you talking about there?
Well, you know, the mass production commodity system, because of the way we've created our markets, force farmers to raise only or to produce only one or two commodities. So here in Iowa, that's primarily in the grains is corn and soybeans. Or they produce one animal commodity, so it's either pork or it's beef or one thing or another. And they concentrate on a mass production of that one commodity. That means that the landscape becomes very specialized. Again, in Iowa now, over 90% of our cultivated farmland is in just two crops, corn and soybeans. And that creates pest and disease problems because, you know, there's no variation in the field, so the same kinds of pests tend to emerge. So our view of thinking about this is that if we're going to solve some of the on-farm production problems and begin to reduce the kind of nutrient contamination that we have, or nutrient flow that we have going down the Mississippi River, which then contributes to the hypoxia zone in the Gulf of Mexico, we need to begin to think about diversifying the landscape. But we can't do that without markets that support a diversified landscape. And so again, the markets that I'm talking about are then directly linked to the kind of landscape that farmers can afford to have out there. And I think that's going to be critical to, you know, solving some of the environmental problems that we have.
Fred, you've given us a lot to chew on. It's been great chatting with you.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you very much. My thanks to Fred Kirschenmann for chatting with us today. And if you would like to know more about the Leopold Center based at Iowa State University and the kinds of agriculture and food-related research they do, we'll put a link on our homepage. That's agvisiontv.com.